Are you thinking about moving to the Portland area? Well, we work with a ton of people coming from out of state, and a lot of people are wondering where to start. We get a lot of questions about the process. In this video, we're going to cover them all. Stay tuned to learn more. Hey, what's up everybody? This is Paul and Seth with the Home Team Brokers coming to you from Laurelhurst Park today. And in this video, we're going to talk about the 5 steps that you need to take to relocate to Portland, Oregon. So many people we work with moving in from out of state are wondering where to start. What does the process look like? How am I going to find out, what the best areas are? What properties are going to be best for me? Well, those are all things that we help take care of. And those are all things that we're going to talk about step by step in this video. Obviously, relocating to a new area can feel overwhelming. The home buying process overall typically is pretty overwhelming for a lot of people. There's a lot of unknowns. A lot of people find themselves thinking, that there's something they should be doing, they should be doing that they're not. So again, we're gonna set out a simple blueprint and outline for buying a home in Portland, Oregon. Now, if this is your first time to the channel or you've been here and you haven't already and you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. And we've helped so many people relocate to Portland and move to the Portland metro area. And as real estate professionals, we love to help with that process. So if that's you, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video and schedule a Zoom call with us. Either way, we would love to help with your move to Portland.
All right, the first step, first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna meet us. Whether that's in person or like so many other people that we've worked with. If you're coming from outside of the state, we're gonna start with a Zoom call. Typically like a 30-minute phone call, just a meet and greet to get to know you a little bit better, get to know your real estate goals, to discuss some of those goals, and then just to really kind of get working towards that next step. So the first step would just be simply meet and greet, and we do those all the time. Oftentimes it's over a Zoom call, Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are so many steps to this process that being able to have a conversation right from the outset to identify all of the things that you need to be doing, the things that you need to be thinking about, and then what you'll be expecting moving forward at each step. So there's no surprises, so you feel prepared and confident in the decisions that you're making. Ultimately that's what we want people to come away from that conversation feeling. And again, there's a lot that you need to be doing right out of the gate so you don't get too far ahead of yourself. And again, just making sure that you're prepared every step of the way really helps make this as smooth a process as possible. So yeah, we want to get to know your budget, your timeline, your needs, your wants, your must-haves, where you can make exceptions, overall what the goals are, where you see yourself living now, but also 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and helping you identify where the priority should be as far as where you're looking for and what you're looking for, which ultimately are the second and third step.
Yeah, so next step is identifying the area that you want to end up in. And that might not sound that difficult, but a lot of people that move to Oregon, they're moving here for a lot of the amenities, not just for Portland, but for like Mount Hood, the Gorge, the coast, Central Oregon. So not everybody's just taking into consideration just the immediate Portland metropolitan area. They're taking into consideration a lot of other surrounding things throughout the state, because there's so many great things and so many things in Oregon that people are moving here for. So narrowing down the area, Portland is a pretty dynamic area. We have a couple videos if you want to check out a few other videos that kind of like lay out Portland as far as being suburban, being urban, or being in rural, because you can have all three of those within a pretty close proximity of each other. So it's really kind of sorting out just geographically the area that you want to be in so you can have the right proximity to things, whether it's for recreation or work or your kids' schools, whatever that may be. That's going to be the next step.
Yeah, Portland and the Portland metro area is relatively sprawled. It's a tri-county area, so you have Multnomah County where Portland is, Washington County on the west and southwest side, and then Clackamas County on the east and southeast side. And then of course you have Clark County across the river up in Washington and around Vancouver and the surrounding towns around Vancouver as well. So there's a lot of options. I mean, if you're relocating here for work, one of the things we want to look at is your commute. So you might really like an area that is on the east side of the river, but your job might be on the west side of the river, and that commute could be an hour one way every day. Do you like to get out and go for walks? Do you want to be near green spaces, natural areas, nature areas, parks? What type of amenities are you looking for? What kind of lifestyle do you want to have? I mean, do you want to be in an area that's a little more bustling with restaurants and shops and coffee shops, an area that's a little more walkable? Do you want to be in a more suburban area that, maybe doesn't have as much of the commercial stuff, but it's going to have that suburban feel? Either way, those are all things that we will discuss with you initially, and then over time continue to discuss what the priorities are and help you identify areas that really check a lot of those boxes, because more often than not, what's going to happen most likely is there's not just one neighborhood or one suburb that checks a lot of the boxes. There's going to be options, and ultimately it's going to be digging into those options a little bit more and talking about some of the nuances and the differences between those areas, and again, just helping you prioritize what areas we should really be focusing on. So when a property comes up in that area or in any of those areas, we're able to go take a look at it right away, start talking about what the property has, the benefits, the pros, the cons, etc. And that's our next step.
Yeah, so the next step, and I think the next step, identifying properties, I think is probably the most kind of common question that we get initially from people coming from outside of the state is, how can I actually shop for properties when I live in a different state? And there's essentially three ways that people do it. Some people will come here and rent for a short period of time and tour properties, probably the least common and probably the least preferable. Probably the most expensive way, or potentially the most expensive way, having to get locked into a long-term contract renting that you'll have to break, or the short-term stuff, which is going to be even more expensive. So that's one way that people do it. The other way that people do it is they'll fly here for a short period of time, like a week or a couple weeks or something like that, and tour properties and try and identify something that we can write an offer on and get accepted. And then the third way, which is actually pretty common, is touring properties via like a video call, like a Zoom. So we'll identify properties with you online, just shopping online together to narrow down your wants and needs. And then once we find something that's on the market, Paul or myself will go out to that property and we'll schedule a tour and actually do a Zoom call with you, walk around the property, look at the property on the phone together, answer any questions that you might have, and actually tour the property while we're on a call together, as opposed to just looking at pictures online, which you probably know can sometimes be deceiving. And sometimes there's just things, you can't discern online, like, a barking dog next door, for example. So those are the three ways. All three of them we have facilitated to help people move here. But that would be the next step, is how do we tour the properties, and we'll really accommodate you depending on what your preference is.
Yeah, absolutely. Typically, I think people end up doing a combination of the second and third option, where people almost always make a trip out, at least one trip out, to drive around neighborhoods, potentially at that point, depending on how far along you are in the process, schedule tours so we can actually go walk through 3, 5, 10 different homes, and maybe at that point we find the one. If not, once we've gone through that process, we're all going to feel a lot more comfortable doing those video tours, going to walk through on your behalf, because we've already done that together and we've talked about some of the smaller things, the finer details as far as what you want and what maybe you don't want in a home. So I think what ends up happening most of the time is somebody comes out, visits. If we don't end up finding the one on that trip, most people end up, offering on a property, based on some of those walkthroughs that we've done. Not everybody can make a trip out though, although it is beneficial, and we're gonna try to do everything we can if you're not there to really tell you probably a lot of the reasons why you shouldn't buy this particular home. Being there in person, obviously there's no replacement for that, but if you can't, we've helped a lot of people just by sight unseen, and I think you really can get a really clear picture and good idea just doing a video call and us being able to get eyes on it and say, okay, the photos showed this, but this is what it's really like, or the photo showed this and this is actually what it is like, or maybe it's even a little bit better than the photos show.
And then to piggyback off that, another common question is the inspection. So if I have to fly back home, because I flew out and I don't have time, or if we're just doing video tours like we're talking about here, common question is, what about the inspection? Well, the buyer's agent, myself and Paul, we're always at the inspection, so we'll be there. And then we have inspectors that we work with that we can suggest to you. If you want to choose your own inspector, great, but the inspectors that we work with will do Zoom calls just like we do at the end of the inspection with the buyer. So it'll be almost just like you're there for the inspection as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in our last step, while you're under contract and going through that contract period. But obviously finding the right property once we've identified the right area, that is objective number one. That's the most important thing we're doing up front, and making sure that you're ultimately going to be offering on a place that checks most of the boxes and that you feel really good about. And that's going to be our next step, is actually drafting an offer.
So writing an offer, we'll discuss this on our initial consultation, step one, the meet and greet, but we'll get a little bit more in depth after that meet and greet as far as how we write our offers and what our strategy is. Part of that will be to go over the contract with you. We have specific contracts that we use in the state of Oregon that all the brokers use. So these are contracts that everybody is familiar with as brokers, and if you're not familiar with it, we will go over the contract with you. So you're going to be familiar with that as well as our strategy for writing offers. So we don't just write offers simply to write offers to hopefully win an offer. We have strategies with an offer, and with our strategy, we expect certain outcomes with our offers. So depending on how we write the offer, we would have a certain degree of expectation or certainty of getting the offer accepted. There's a lot of different types of offers that you can write, and a lot of different strategies that you can take, and that is what we would cover with you in our fourth step.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we don't want to give away.
No, we're not going to give away all the secrets here.
Yeah, we don't want to give away the secret sauce here. But we're going to make a very educated decision based on everything that's presented to us. Having obviously walked through the property at least once, looking at all the data in the MLS, we're going to speak with the listing agent, get an understanding of what the seller's motivation is, take into consideration the market conditions. Now, you could be watching this video a year after we make it, so the market could be a little different than it is now, but we're going to take into consideration the market conditions into ultimately the price and the terms that we write into an offer, again expecting the highest chance of getting your offer accepted. And also, of course, how long the property has been sitting on the market. If the property was listed on Thursday, we saw it on Saturday, the listing agent might tell us that they've had 50 showings and they expect 5 offers. That's going to be a different circumstance than if the house has been listed for 30 days, 90 days, and they've been getting crickets basically as far as any interest or lack thereof. So we're going to approach those situations differently. So it's all really going to be case by case, but ultimately, if we've got to the point where there's a house that you love and we want to write an offer, we're going to do everything we can as far as developing a strategy to ultimately win that offer.
Last step.
Offer accepted.
Offer accepted, going through the contract. I think this is where, when we get feedback from people that we've worked with, this is where I notice that we get a lot of feedback in which people are very thankful for being able to work with us from outside of the state, because we will take you through the entire contract from start to finish, and we will assist you with everything that you need help with, essentially. So what does that mean? Well, our contracts have over 500 lines on them. There's a lot of different contingencies. There's a lot to the process. There's a lot to line up throughout the contract in order for you to close on time and for everything to get done right. And we'll be here to hold your hand for that entire process, and some cases even sort of beyond that process, so beyond close. If you need help with service providers, landscapers, plumbers, movers, whatever it may be, if you want to check in with us post-close after you get moved in, if you still have questions, we're not going to disappear. We're still going to be your friend. You know where to find us. So I think where I get feedback the most is people are very thankful for us holding their hand and walking them through the entire process of the contract, and also sometimes for being there post-close for people as well.
Yeah, there's a ton of contingencies and dates and deadlines once we have that offer accepted. we have to start going through that period so we can get to a point where we're closing. And yeah, at this stage, for most people who are relocating from out of state, they're not here yet. Some people might be in a hotel or in something short term, depending on the timeline or the circumstance, but more often than not, you know, we're here basically boots on the ground going through that process on your behalf. So we're going to have had gone over basically what the contract entails and what that's going to look like early on in the process, probably on that first meet and greet where we're talking about what these steps are, and then once you get an offer accepted, what's going to happen. But it's easy to forget. There's a lot of steps. You know, there's a lot of dates and deadlines and timelines and all of that. So right when an offer is accepted, we're going to give you a full outline of what your obligations are, what's going to happen at every turn, so there's no surprises. And then we'll be guiding that process, but you will know, you know, basically step by step, daily, weekly, up until close, what's happening, and we'll keep you updated throughout that process. So yeah, I think, you know, like Seth said, that's where we get a lot of positive feedback. I know for a lot of people, once an offer is accepted, yes, it's super exciting, but that's where it's like, okay, this is becoming real. And so we want to make sure that we can eliminate, you know, some of that, you know, fear, anxiety, whatever it may be that a lot of people have, again, especially not being able to be here during this process, and make sure that all the boxes are checked, you know, the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, all of that good stuff, and ultimately get to a point where we are closing on time and getting you the keys and popping the champagne. Yeah.
I think that's also too where you sometimes see complaints about realtors is not being there, not being responsive. The buyer having a question, and then like Paul said, we go over everything with you, but it's a lot. You're probably going to forget some of the things. You're going to have questions later, and it's never fun to have a question or to be waiting on something and have a realtor that takes 24 hours to get back to you, or half a day, or even worse, you know, a couple days. Paul and I are very responsive. You can reach us 7 days a week, and you know, for most people that's really important, is being able to have somebody that will be there for them the entire time, because we try and we typically keep these processes, you know, as smooth as we can with our experience and expertise, but you know, doesn't mean that there's not going to be a hiccup from the other side, and you're not going to need us to help you and be there for you and be responsive to you, you know. So that's probably one of the biggest things with this entire process, is holding your hand and being there for you throughout this entire process of the contract.
Yeah, absolutely. So once you've closed, again, you get the keys, time to move in. We're going to be here to help at any point in the future moving forward, coordinating something, whatever it may be, especially if there is some type of lag time between closing and you actually moving in, which, yeah, again, if you're moving in from out of state, often that is the case. So if you need us to meet a contractor, open the door for whatever reason, we're going to be able to help with that right after closing, and then at any point moving forward, any questions you have about your home, the contract itself, anything that might come up post-closing, again, we're here to be a resource for you. So if you are thinking about moving to the Portland area, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video. Schedule a Zoom call with us. We can have that meet and greet, have that initial conversation. We'll be off and running from there.
And if you want to see more videos like this and stay in touch with us, make sure and subscribe. If you liked this video, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, lets us know we're doing a good job. Feel free to leave a comment as well. And until next time, take care, everyone.
See you later.